So I'm Catherine, I'm the painting nurse, and I just wanted to show you a little bit about the stuff that I use to do watercolors. You can zoom in. So today at Target I did go and buy this plate. This was about $4. It's Threshold. And I just like a really big plate because this is what I'm going to use for mixing. I do also have these travel plates, and so they're all little individual wells that I could use, but I actually found that I don't like this as much, and I wound up just using this. I use this just to squirt some paint in, but I'll show you a little bit about that later. So this, I guess, is cool for traveling, but for beginners and just most of my stuff, if I'm able to lay stuff out at home, I prefer to use this as my mixing plate. You could also use a smaller one, but the bigger one is just perfect. I picked up this ruler. This ruler was about 48 cents at Target today. This is really useful. You do need decent masking tape. Scotch is good. I've used the cheap stuff before, and that stuff winds up ripping your paper. So definitely get some decent, like, name brand tape. That's my recommendation. Let's see. For paper, I wound up using several different kinds of paper. Let me bring this over here. So this one's like the super fancy stuff. This stuff's pretty expensive, but it's great. I'm out right now. This is just, you know, drawing. But this stuff's really good. I really like it a lot for paintings that I'm going to use for a commission, or if I just feel fancy that day. Other days, this is like a really good in-between priced one. These come in different sizes. I really like this 6x12 size. It's kind of different. So this stuff is cold press finish. I don't really understand the difference between cold press and hot press and whether or not they're good, but I'm just showing you. I use this cold press one. It's working great. This I've used for my bigger paintings, including the jellyfish. So this is a decent brand. It's good for beginners. It's not too expensive. This guy here is also cold press, so it does have like that bumpy finish to it, and it's really good. The reason why you want to get really good quality watercolor paper is because if you don't, it winds up not being able to absorb the water or the paint very well, and so then it just winds up running all over the place and making a huge mess. And so if you really want to be doing quality watercolor work, you do need to invest in the paper. When you think about it, you know, watercolors is such a cheap activity. Why not spend the money on decent paper? And finally, what I recommend also are these small watercolor postcards. I love these because on the back, it's a little postcard. You could actually send it in the mail. So this one is made by Strathmore, but there's also a Winsor & Newton option. They're both great, and these guys are 4x6. Pop them in the mail. I've been actually painting a lot of my paintings on these guys, and then I've been framing them, so it's a great little tiny one to do. You also do need a board for painting, and so you can go and pick up an artist board pretty much anywhere that they sell art supplies. This one, believe it or not, I got for super cheap. This one was under $3. I got it at the 99-cent store, so it is really cheapy. But it's been doing its job for me. So this is a small one. This is great for kids. It's kind of kid size, but I've been able to do pretty much all my paintings on this one as well, even the really big ones. So you do need a board. Let's see what else. Before we get into paint, let's get into brushes. So I pretty much do all my painting for pretty much everything with just these 5 brushes. You don't have to get all 5. You could just get these 3 in the middle to start out with. Brushes are something you also want to spend money on. They're very important. I mean, once again, watercolors is so cheap. Why not spend it on like those few items that really count? So this is extra, but I really like this for like really, really big areas that you have to cover. And let me shoot that again. So like when you really have like a large space to cover like this and you try to get a background in, it's good to have what's called a mop brush. So this guy is by Winsor & Newton. This one's not mandatory. This one's just useful if you're really gonna get into painting like really big backgrounds. But you can get away with just this size. And this is a number 10 brush. This is also Winsor & Newton. I really love these. These are just such great quality brushes, and I've used these ever since I was a kid. second absolutely must have this size is a 6. This is also Winsor & Newton. Size 6 brush is your medium size brush. You're going to be using this for the majority of your painting. This is a size 1, also Winsor & Newton, and this one's great because it's called a rigger. So it's super long and very skinny, so you're able to get those tiny little strokes in when you need it, and just like very detailed work. And then this one is optional. This one's by Aquafine. This was just another rigger, and if you see the comparison between the two of them, this one's just a little bit shorter, and they look a little frayed just because they're not wet. This is what they look like when they're wet. So as you can see, I wound up spending a little extra money for this rigger because I'm able to get a little bit more finer work, but you could totally get by just fine with this number 1. So once again, this is a size 10, a size 6, and then a size 1. You could also get a few more sizes, but these are like the basics, and then also your mop brush. Online, delving a little bit into paint and these paint brushes. So I bought these guys online. I'm still trying them out. This pack of watercolors came, let's see, yeah, this guy's all connected. This guy came with these little paint brushes here. So these are water paint brushes. I actually fill this whole thing with water, and then I'm able to paint with them. They're great. This kit came with 3 different kinds, and they're a little discolored because I've been using them already. There's a little one, a big one, and then this flat one. So I don't know if you could take a look at those. I use these for different things. There's lots of different techniques you could use with them, but these are so fun, and I was really glad that they came in this kit because then you're able to try them out. So I highly recommend getting them or just buying the kit, which has them already in it. So this is a 42 color watercolor. I think I missaid that. 42 swatch watercolor palette, and this is interesting. The thing that's kind of difficult about this is that when you paint with this, it gets wet, and then look, I'm like closing it up, and so then you're kind of putting like wet paint back in here, so it's kind of a mess. So this isn't actually ideal for traveling. This is more of like an at-home project. I also wind up not using all of these colors. I do use a lot of the yellows and the oranges and the reds, and also the purple's pretty good on here, and some of the blues. I don't really use these greens that much, but I'm kind of just getting, you know, just trying this out still, so I can't really give a fair assessment of the whole thing. But this is one of the things I use. That's why I'm just going over this briefly. This isn't really one of those product testing kind of videos. This is more just what you got to do to get started. Koi are a little bit expensive in terms of watercolors. They're great quality. I really like them, especially I use a lot of this yellow because yellow is always the first color to run out because it's one of your primary colors and you just use it for everything. So Koi is optional. If you do want to start getting into tube paint like this, it's, you know, it's a great starter kind of paint. It's good quality, really good quality. It comes from Japan. So there's your Koi. My staple, the number one thing, these watercolors are actually from when I was probably about 8 years old, and I still have them. It's so crazy. It's called Prang. You can buy Prang. They're slightly different box, but the same product is still out there. These are definitely been loved for years by me. So, you know, forgive the general appearance, but they still work great. I'm ordering some new ones just for the video, but see, yellow gets used up the fastest, so actually I've been squeezing some of this Koi into here and just using it as it runs out. But these are the original watercolors. This is how long they've lasted. They actually used to cost a lot more, but now they're probably the whole box set is under 20 bucks. You could buy them at a lot of different places. Michael's has some sales going on right now, but Michael's isn't the only store that sells them for a really good deal. There's a whole bunch of online places. But this is probably the number one thing that you're gonna wanna get when you start watercolor painting. And I recommend getting both of these trays. Don't just get one. Get the, I think this is 16 in this set. Definitely get this. I don't use this white very much. My watercolor teacher growing up said that we should never use white. That's not true. Because you do need it for certain things, but I don't have any experience really using the white in the tray. So that's why you do have to spend that extra money, and you need to get what's called gouache. And this is by Winsor & Newton. It's, I think this is permanent white is the color. It's great. This is so useful. I use this in my jellyfish painting, but you really need some gouache. So this is also water-based. It's very similar to watercolor. Optional item, I use this is Molotow. This is a latex liquid marker, so you're able to use this and you're able to paint actually pretty fine lines like that. And so this product dries, and then once it dries, you're able to paint over it and you're able to preserve the white paper underneath. And so then when you're done preserving the white paper, after you've painted the whole background, you can pull it off no problem, or use an eraser for it to come off. And then you have like those white marks that really make a painting pop. Let's see, I've been trying out some extra products, just trying to upgrade kind of my own paint set here. So I wound up buying some of these Van Goghs. These are really, really nice. I really like to use them when I'm feeling fancy. I definitely overdosed on pink, and you do not need to be getting this many pinks. I was just trying out the colors and reds, because you are limited in here. Let's try opening this. So as you can see, all I have is red and orangey red. So, and I also have like this really gorgeous red violet, which is just absolutely, this is one of my favorite colors to use. But to fill in the blanks in between all those, the red and the violet, you do need some extra pinks. So I got several because I've been trying several, but you only need probably one or two of these. Permanent red violet's good. And also, what is this guy? Rose. Rose is really good. I also picked up some of this blue. This is also totally unnecessary, but I love this turquoise color, and I wound up using it in a lot of my paintings, but you know, to each their own. And randomly, I picked up this guy. I would have never picked this up, but it was on sale, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that thing is. So this stuff is called Watercolor Magic, and it's liquid watercolors. This purple is absolutely epic. Let me just put that on there so you guys can see. This purple is gorgeous, and so this is totally different from the red violet that I was getting here. This was my red violet. And then this was the actual blue violet that I had. And then this was my purple. And so this purple was just so deep. There's so much blue in that. And I really needed something in a lot of my paintings to brighten things up. So that's why this guy, that's just the bridge right there. That is just such a gorgeous color. So I highly recommend trying out new stuff, especially when things go on sale. This also has a really great yellow in it. I know that looks a little bit orange right there, but this is just a fantastic yellow if you really need to stain. See that yellow? Oh my gosh, that's just so bright. But you do have to be careful with it because the liquid watercolor, it tends to work more as a stain. But I'm also just crazy about going to the store and trying out new products. So they got green, black, red, and blue. So, but the main, like, this was so cheap, and seriously, the best things about this box have to be the purple and the yellow. So that's about it. This is all you need really to get started. I folded 2 paper towels here. One of them I'm going to keep on my lap, and the other one I'm going to just be using for dabbing the brush in and out of the water. And pencil, eraser. I use this specific type of pen because I really like it, and this is going over certain pencil areas later in the paintings. So that's about it. That's enough to get you started. So once again, highly recommend using the Prang product as your go-to, and get at least 3 decent brushes. The Winsor & Newton's great. Prang tends to come with its own brush. Throw away that brush. It's not something that you need. All right, guys, happy painting.